What's good, YouTube? Sensational Sincere here, back with another Tom Clancy's The Division Vendor Reset video. Let's get right into it and see what we got good for this week. Okay, so for our first gear items, we're going to head over to Camp Hudson. And here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 6.50% ballistic shield health for those D3 builds. Okay, and for our next gear items, we're going to head over to the meat locker. And here the weapons vendor has a Lova C with the gear score of 258. It has 19% enemy armor damage, and it has the talents focused, capable, and brutal. For our next gear item, is going to head over to the base operations. And here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a SASG 12 with a gear score of 280. It has 330 stagger, and it has the talents competent, responsive, and accurate. I would definitely use this for a PvE mission. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations, and here the weapons vendor has a Marine Super 90 with a gear score of 264. It has 326 stagger, and it has the talents meticulous, vicious, and unforgiving. I'll probably use this on a striker build for PvE. And then also here we have a Pro Red Dot Sight with 18% crit hit damage and 2.50% crit hit chance and 2% accuracy. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations, and the gear vendor here at the front has a tactical vest with the talent Reckless on it. It has a gear score of 267. It has 1844 armor. Its roll for firearms 1144, and the attributes it has is all resistance, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. And then also we have a prototype performance mod with 2% post crit hit damage for those post builds. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations, and here the advanced weaponry vendor has a Lova C with a gear score of 275, and it has and it has 19% enemy armor damage, and it has the talents intense, fierce, and destructive. I'll probably use this for a healer build. Also here we have a custom L86A2 with a gear score of 273. It has 22% damage to targets out of cover, and it has the talents dominant, competent, and unforgiving. For our next gear items, we're still at the base operations, and the special equipment vendor here has a tactical AUG A3P. If you don't have nothing better than a house, or you just like to run the AUG, this one has a gear score of 266. It has 19% crit hit chance, and the talents it has is self-preserve, deadly, and competent. And also here we got a SASG 12 with a gear score of 266. It has 317 stagger, and it has the talents fierce, responsive, and ferocious. I would definitely use this for a PvE mission on a 6-piece striker set if I wanted it. Also here we have a Spec Ops mask with the talent refreshed on it with a gear score of 265. It has 875 armor, and its roll for electronics 1153, and the attributes it has is skill, power, and burn resistance. Also here we have an operator pack with the talent inventive on it with a gear score of 268. It has 1232 armor. Its roll for stamina 1177, and the attributes it has is health and ammo capacity. And then also here we have some Spec Ops gloves with the talent savaged on there with the gear score of 268. It has 866 armor. Its roll for firearms 1232, and it has the attributes of shotgun damage, pistol damage, and enemy armor damage. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the cavern. And here the gear vendor has a tactical pack with the talent inventive on it with a gear score of 272. It has 1238 armor, and its roll for stamina 1209, and the attributes it has is stability and disrupt resistance. For our next gear item, is going to head over to Kerman Station, and here the weapons vendor has a heavy magazine spring with 4% crit hit damage, 3% crit hit chance, and 9.70% rate of fire. I would definitely use this on a prayer build to try to put the bleed on somebody real quick. For our next gear item, is going to head over to Camp Clinton, and here the special equipment vendor has a historian with a gear score of 274. It has 147 headshot damage, and it has the talents trained, prepared, and you already know the third talent for the historian. Also here we have a classic AK-47 with a gear score of 279. It has 23% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is predatory, vicious, and deadly. And also here we have some tactical gloves with the talent savaged on there with a gear score of 282. 993 armor. Its roll for firearms, 1236, and the attributes it has is skill, haste, health on kill, and crit hit damage. And then also here we got a prototype stamina mod with 261 stamina, and it has 2,972 skill power. And then also here we got a prototype performance mod with 4% turret damage. And then also here we got a vertical grip Coyote Tan for those shotguns with 48% optimal range, 4% crit hit damage, and 2.50% stability. And then also we got a VX1 scope times 12 with 17.50% headshot damage, 4% crit hit damage, and 2% accuracy for those sniper rifles. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to Dante's Run. And here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% sticky bomb damage. For our next gear items, we want to head over to Autumn's Hope. And here the gear vendor has a prototype firearms mod with 187 firearms and 3% damage to elites. A lot of people have been asking for these, so we finally got some here for the damage to elites and those PvE missions. So if you need these, pick this up. And then also we got a prototype performance mod with 5.50% sticky bomb explosion radius. For our next gear items, you want to head over to the Ward. And here the gear vendor has Spec Ops mask with the talent refreshed on it. With the gear score of 265, it has 922 armor. Its roll for firearms 1129, and the attributes it has is enemy armor damage and burn resistance. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the South Paw. And here the gear vendor has a Spec Ops armor with the talent Reckless on it. It has a gear score of 276. It has 1937 armor. Its roll for firearms 1250, and the attributes it has is all resistance, health on kill, and ammo capacity. And then also here we have a prototype performance mod with 4.50% support station healing speed for those reclaimer builds. For our next gear items, we want to head over to the Grindhouse. And here the weapons vendor has a heavy magazine spring. We got another one here, and this one has the attributes of 5% reload speed, 12% magazine size, and the rate of fire on this is 40%. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the Firewall. And here the gear vendor has a prototype performance mod with 4% turret damage. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 31st Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent specialized on it. It has a gear score of 268. It has 1166 armor. Its roll for firearms 1232, and the attributes it has is skill power and bleed resistance. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 34th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 5.50% first self-aid heal. For our next gear items, we want to head over to West 42nd Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a C79 scope times 3.4 with 19% crit hit damage, 5.50% headshot damage, and 4.50% optimal range. For our next gear items, you want to head over to West 46th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has an extended magazine with 114.50% magazine size, 3% crit hit chance, and 5.10% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to West 53rd Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a prototype performance mod with 7% ballistic shield health. And then also here we have an Omega rifle suppressor for those guys that are good at landing headshots with 17.50% headshot damage, 4.50% optimal range, and 2% accuracy. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 64th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone gear mod vendor has a prototype performance mod with 2% post crit hit chance. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 61st Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has an extended magazine. This one's styled a little different. This particular one here has 115% magazine size, 4% crit hit damage, and 4.70% rate of fire. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 58th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone gear vendor has a Spec Ops armor with the talent Vigorous on it. It has a gear score of 272. The armor is 1954, and its roll for stamina 1131. And the attributes it has is health on kill, health, and increased kill XP. And then also here we have a Spec Ops pack with the talent Relentless on it. It has a gear score of 271. The armor is 1150. It's roll for stamina 1260. And the attributes it has is stability and disrupt resistance. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 46th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And the Dark Zone vendor here has a tactical vest with the talent Vigorous on it with the gear score of 267. It has 1844 armor and it's roll for electronics 1114. And the attributes we have on this one is exotic damage resilience, skill haste, and increased kill XP. For our next gear item, it's going to head over to East 42nd Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And for those PvE guys here, we got a tactical ACR with a gear score of 280. It has 22% enemy armor damage, and the talents it has is responsive, accurate, and ferocious. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to East 34th Street checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here, the Dark Zone vendor has a Model 700 with a gear score of 259. It has 150% headshot damage, and the talents it has is Fierce, Vicious, and Elevated. Also here, we got a tactical mask with the talent Tenacious on it with a gear score of 270. The armor is 881. It's roll for electronics 1188. And the attributes it has is all resistance and damage to elites. For our next gear items, we're going to head over to the 5th Ave checkpoint in the Dark Zone. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a tactical pack with the talent Relentless on it. It has a gear score of 264. The armor is 1151. It's roll for stamina 1144. And the attributes it has is skill power and ammo capacity. And then also we have here a prototype performance mod with 4% Seeker Mine damage. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to DZ2 Safe Room. And here the Dark Zone vendor has a Spec Ops pack with the talent Relentless on it. This one has a gear score of 274. It has 1284 armor. It's roll for electronics 1172. And the attributes it has is health and disrupt resistance. And also here we got some gunslinger gloves with the talent Savaged on there with the gear score 263. It's roll, the armor on is 878. It's roll for stamina 1150. And the attributes it has is shotgun damage, health on kill, and skill haste. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to DZ3 Safe Room. And here the Dark Zone weapons vendor has an M249B for those guys still running PvE and want to use a decently rolled LMG. This particular one has a gear score of 269. The damage on it has 20% damage to targets out of cover. And the talents it has is meticulous, ferocious, and competent. For our next gear item, we're going to head over to DZ5 Safe Room. And here we got another heavy magazine spring. This one here has 4.50% reload speed, 11.50% magazine size, and 10.80 rate of fire. And for our next gear items, we're going to head to DZ8 Safe Room. And here the Dark Zone gear vendor has the operator mask with the talent Tenacious on it. It has a gear score of 275. The armor is 895, and it's roll for stamina 1249. And the attributes it has is crit hit chance and damage to elites. And also here we got a gunslinger's vest with the talent Reckless on it with a gear score of 271. The armor is 1842. It's roll for firearms 1238. And the attributes it has is health on kill, enemy armor damage, and ammo capacity. And then also here we have a Spec Ops pack with the talent Inventive on it with a gear score of 271. The armor is 1274 and it's roll for stamina 1142. And the attributes it has is stability and burn resistance. And for our next gear items, we're going to head over to DZ9 Safe Room.
The remaining supply drop.
And here the Dark Zone weapon mod vendor has a pro red dot sight with 19% crit hit damage and 2% accuracy and 5.50% headshot damage. Alright everybody, that's it for our Tom Clancy's The Division vendor reset video. Hope this video was able to help out anybody who needed some gear. Thanks for tuning in. I want to mention too also that check me out on Twitch. I stream on Twitch sometimes at Sensational Sincere, the same name as the YouTube. And for the video, drop me a comment. Hit that like button if you hadn't, and subscribe if you hadn't too. I appreciate that support if you haven't. And I'll holla at y'all with the next one, everybody. Take care. Peace.